Welcome back to Analytical Media. We are a consortium of therapists, college professors, and well-published, peer-reviewed authors. Today we will be discussing Nick Reiner and the death of his parents. He is the accused subject. He was arrested for the murders. He has not yet pled in the case innocent or guilty. No pleading as of today, the 22nd of December at 3:30 p.m. Now, parricide is the killing of one's parents or parent. Oftentimes, the killing involves excessive violence or overkill. It is a relatively rare form of homicide, accounting for 2 to 5% of all homicides worldwide, varying by country. The research on parricide is limited, primarily consisting of case reports, case histories, and small studies, oftentimes associated with mental illness in adults, abuse in juveniles, and antisocial behaviors. Nick is accused of killing his parents, both of them. Perpetrators predominantly are males. Female parricides are more rare. The average age of a perpetrator is about 31 years. Adult male perpetrators are often unmarried, unemployed, and cohabitating with the victim. Crimes, the murders themselves, typically occur in the shared residence. Now, the perpetrators fall into three categories. Severely abused adolescents. We have no idea if that might be true in Nick's case. Severely mentally ill parricide offenders might fit this case. Generally, these people account for most of the adult perpetrators. And the mental illnesses would include schizophrenia, severe depression, or psychosis, often involving delusions or hallucinations that make the parent appear threatening. Third category is dangerously antisocial parricide offender, characterized by a history of antisocial behavior and oftentimes diagnosed with personality disorder, antisocial or narcissistic personality disorder, and motivated by selfish reasons, financial gain, removing an obstacle, or resentment. Another category, which is sometimes included, which would be the fourth in this case, would be the enraged offender. It would involve long-standing parent-child conflict that escalated to the murder. Often occurs in the context of alcohol and or drug intoxication, may include a background of child abuse, but the immediate trigger is acute rage rather than chronic severe abuse or mental illness. The method of killing commonly is a blunt or sharp instrument, knives, blunt objects, asphyxiation, often impulsive, coming from whatever's available in the house. Juveniles are more likely to use firearms. Adults are more likely to use knives or blunt objects or strangulation. Overkill is frequent in parricides, involving excessive violence, painful methods, and multiple fatal means. Stabbing combined with blunt trauma, like being hit with a hammer or a baseball bat, linked to close relationships and emotional intensity. Offenders may use undue force beyond what's necessary to kill. Schizophrenia-associated parricides often involve sharp instruments and multiple torso strikes. Mood disorders link to strangulation, personality, alcohol related to blunt force. Here are the mental health diagnoses which are oftentimes associated with parricide. Psychosis, for example, schizophrenia, spectrum disorders, delusional misidentification syndromes, rare but linked to parricides, includes Capgras syndrome, believed to promote a killing based on a misidentification of the family member. For instance, he may think his father is the devil or his mother is evil. And of course, any other mental health disorder could do this. Oftentimes, depression, schizoaffective disorder, other personality disorders, epilepsy. Many perpetrators have psychiatric histories, but not all. Now let's look at this case. Nick Reiner, age 32. He was the son of acclaimed filmmaker Rob Reiner and photographer Michele Singer Reiner. Was arrested on December 14th, 2025 and charged with the murder of his parents. Now, I'm first going to go over the tabloids or the less credible sources, which is probably where most people are getting their information because it's coming from social media or it's being reported in social media. And then we'll look at the more credible sources. And the less credible sources, where most of this information is coming from, page6.com, reddit.com, people.com, news.com.au, youtube.com, eonline.com, therap.com, and the Indian Times, indiatimes.com. Now, they were reporting that a famous comedian talk show host would not allow people at his Christmas party to call 911, and that's been reported in the sources we just went over, which of course produced outrage. Supposedly this person had said, this famous comedian had said, it's my party, and I'll tell you if you can call the police, or I'll call them myself if I choose to. You'll find that if you look all over the internet, all coming from these sources. Now, what they're saying is they're saying more than the facts would tell us, more than any reputable source would tell us. No reputable source has reported the story about that famous comedian who would not allow persons at his Christmas party to call 911. Since then, it has pretty well been determined that none of that is true, that there are no credible sources to suggest that this famous comedian did anything of the sort. And at this point in time, now I'm not going to talk about all the information, the details of the murder. It's not necessary. That's not the point of this video. But here's the information. These sources are the New York Times, NBC, and the LA Times. Also ABC, CBS, the New York Times. What we can say safely is there were no tabloid-style rumors. The emphasis of these articles from these various news sources was on investigation, mental health, and the societal context of addiction. The arrest, the tracking of the subject, where Nick went after the murders, how the murders were reported, and whatever information they could find about his mental health history and drug addiction history. But there was nothing salacious, nothing about a comedian hosting a party and forbidding people to call 911. It's not reported in any of those sources. On the internet sources, including the India Times, this is in India, they had these other stories, other information, ridiculous things. And the bad part is, most people are going to get their information that way. They will get the information from internet sources. They're going to get their information from social media. They're going to be getting tweets and communications of one form or another, or retweets, all coming from incredible, non-credible sources, which the main media, conventional media, including conventional media on the internet, did not do any of that. It was a completely different thing. They never accused someone of forbidding persons, to call the police or to call 911. So far, in the days that have followed since this occurred, that has been more and more proven to be false. Those allegations didn't stand up. There's no evidence to suggest it was real. And what's the danger in this, and why are we talking about it? Well, we're talking about it because this is how conspiracy theories begin. Conspiracy theories are just as non-credible as this Nick Reiner story. They come from the same non-credible sources. And most of the people who believe conspiracy theories and believe the Nick Reiner story, the made-up parts of this, the more incredible parts of the story, the more inflammatory parts of the story, they did not care for determining the source of the information. They felt because they saw it, they read it, they liked it, it was impressive, they could tell their friends about it, that it would be good enough. But there was no evidence. They didn't care if there was evidence. They didn't ask for evidence. They didn't ask for who the source was that said this or that. Somebody said it on the internet. They believed it. Enough to repeat it, enough to repost it, and probably enough to add additional things onto that story. And it spread. And people came to believe it. Because everybody told the story in a way they like it. Like, there's no justice in the United States. And this Reiner kid, he's going to say he's not guilty because he was crazy. But crazy shouldn't be okay. It shouldn't be okay when you're crazy to kill. So I'm a law and order justice guy, and so I'm going to believe this because it's confirmatory bias. It goes along with what I think. So I'll go from that standpoint. Another standpoint, we're too soft on drug addicts. I'll believe it because Rob and his wife are dead because their son was a drug addict. We need to be harder on drug addicts. We need to stop all drugs in the United States, which I would be, and so would everyone here. We would be quite comfortable with stopping all drug usage in the United States as long as we technically are correct and include alcohol as a drug. And let's not be hypocrites. You want to stop all drug usage? Well, stop advertising alcohol all over television. Stop saying that you can't celebrate Christmas without plenty of alcohol. And Christmas Eve wouldn't be Christmas Eve if most people didn't have a drink. It's just a social thing to do. Get people high on every occasion. Birthdays, the birth of Christ, the night before the birth of Christ. You need drinks. You need alcohol. Life isn't good enough without being high. It's not good being straight. Or is it? Of course it is. So we are against that. People believe in conspiracy theories because it's a confirmatory bias. It touches on something. If it's true, it's good. It works. You know, like the idea that's been repeated, which is ridiculous. The Democrats kill babies and they eat them. They barbecue them. That's all over the internet. People believe it. In fact, later on, we're going to go over a story like that. Where a man kills people because they were Democrats, because Democrats eat babies. Confirmatory bias. In other words, the story says that. Your political leader says, hate Democrats. Democrats are all bad. And that's going to be a part of that story too when we see that this man killed people because they were Democrats. And they were evil, obviously. Confirmatory bias. And that's what creates ridiculous beliefs. You want to believe that all the bad luck in your life has come about not because of you, but because of the Illuminati, the Catholic Church, the Pope, some new world government that's trying to be imposed, some new economic order. If you want to believe that's why you're in trouble, why you can't pay your mortgage, why you can't get a good job, why you're drunk most of the time, if you want to believe that, then it works really well. Because it's not your fault. It's somebody else. It's cannibalistic Democrats. Or you didn't have a chance. It's not them at all. It's a world government with people, the Rosicrucians, the Illuminati, confirmatory bias. You don't want evidence to prove something that would prove you wrong. And so that's why you go along with it. You go along with Q because it fits your political style. All this bad stuff can't be due to you or ignorant people or a particular political party. It's due to some cabal, a secret thing going on. And so when you hear about Q telling you about this, that he's supporting this secret thing, like there is a secret thing and it is creating all these problems in life, you believe it because it fits your narrative that it's not your fault. It's not your dad's fault. So nobody had a chance to start with. It was this world government, this secret underground thing that's going on. And it goes back to a basic principle, which I think some of you are coming to accept. In life, you need to be right. You don't have a right to be wrong. You know, if you were one of those cool parents that smoked a joint with your 12-year-old son or daughter, or 14 or 16, no matter when it started. I'm very familiar with a case where the mother did smoke marijuana with her son from the time he was about 12 on, because she believed if you're old enough to sneak a beer, you're old enough to get a little high with marijuana. You're going to do it whether I'm here or not. I'd rather you did it at home. She's using that rationale. However, she ignores the fact that she's encouraging an illegal behavior that no professional would say is decent or acceptable. You need all your wits about you to develop as a teenager. You cannot face the world high. It won't work. Your brain won't handle it. You're not capable of doing it. So, you're the cool parent that's smoking joints or allowing your kids to drink when they're engaged in an illegal activity as long as they're at home and doing it. You'd rather they drank at home. You'd have all the beer and stuff there. That way, if they're drunk, you can take care of them. If the rest of the kids at the party are drunk, you can take care of them. You know, you're a cool parent. But it doesn't work out well. And in a particular case I'm referring to, the teenage son actually became a threat. As he got older, he became a threat to the mother. And he was engaging in physical violence, beating her up, pushing her around physically when he was 20 years old, beating her up, punching her. And it is a cool parent if you were, you're cool, you're hip, you're 12-year-old kid, you smoke some joints with him. Later on, when he's 22, he overdoses and dies. Who killed him? Society, drug use? No, you killed him. And if you don't like to hear it, well, too bad. Think about it. It's illegal for a reason. You have any MDs recommending, any psychologists recommending drinking for your teenage child, recommending marijuana, fentanyl, heroin, cocaine for your 12-year-old child, 13, 14, 15, 18? I don't think so. Check it out. But all these things spread without proof, without evidence, and without the overlying arching indictment that it must be correct. What you do must be correct. Every decision you make must be correct. And the decisions, when you have power over another human being, it becomes even more important that you not harm somebody else because you have made an incorrect decision. Conspiracy theories are obviously untrue. They're ridiculous. They're outlandish. And they're outlandish because people thought they were true and never asked if they were true. Never searched it, researched it. And that's okay if they want to do it, but it's not okay if you do it. Because you will pay for being wrong. How will you feel if your child dies? Because of your thoughts. Because you bought them. You have money. Every 16-year-old kid wants a sports car, male or female. And you have the money. You bought it for him or her. And she died. Whose fault is it now? Yours. 100% your fault. See how that makes you feel. Living with the idea that you killed your own child. You'll be in denial for a while, and that'll help you. But then with the help of drugs, legal and perhaps illegal, you'll suppress it for a while until something very bad happens to you. You need to be right. Everything you do needs to be right. Even more so for your children. You really need to be right. You might think it's right. Your mother might think it's right. His uncle might think it's right. But you got to get some professionals, credentialed professionals, to agree that it's right. Because if you're wrong, you're paying a heavy price. And perhaps you will be wrong no matter what, but at least you did everything you could. You took it very seriously. You researched it as much as you possibly could, and it turned out you were wrong. Well, at least you have the justification that you did everything you knew how to do. You did not take it for granted. You were very serious. You researched this heavily, talked to experts, thought of it right side, left side, and still took the most conservative route. And that's better than somebody who flipped a coin or never thought about it or thought it'd be cool to sit there and drink with their kids or get high with their kids. You need to be right about everything. You need to be right about who you vote for. How many people voted in this last election for a political candidate that ended up hurting them? Is that smart? Is that wise? That's the very definition in behaviorism of mental illness. In behaviorism, anything you do has to be adaptive. It has to be good for you. It has to make you fit better in the world, succeed in the world. That's an adaptive behavior. And in behaviorism, anything that doesn't do that is a maladaptive behavior. In fact, mental illness is not recognized in behaviorism. Instead of saying that's a mental illness, they would say that's maladaptive, meaning it doesn't help you succeed. So we shouldn't believe that some talk show host did something he didn't do. We shouldn't believe it just because somebody said it. Somebody said, I was at the party. Well, if you're ashamed to tell us your name, if you won't stand up and say, hi, I'm Arthur Allen Poe III, and here's my ticket to the party. People saw me there. They know I was there, and I saw this behavior. But everyone who said they were at the party and they saw this thing happen, they were anonymous. They wouldn't give their name, or there was no name. It was made up by the India Times or any of those other silly tabloid type, good enough for to be repeated, good enough to get clicks on the internet, but not good enough to believe. You need evidence. You need good evidence to believe that some talk show host, some comedian, could have saved someone by allowing the police to be called, but did not because he didn't want to ruin his party. That was the allegation. Well, the allegation was completely untrue. And that allegation, I pointed out, only occurred from cheap internet sources. It didn't come from legitimate news organizations. Nothing of that nature did. All the salacious stuff came from internet sources, places that are there to attract you to click on something so they can make money. The big papers, the news organizations, they were quite different. Very conservative in what was reported. Only factual things with multiple sources, confirmed sources for information. So the talk show host doing this and that wasn't real. He did nothing wrong. The conspiracy theories claiming this and that, they're not real. Where's the evidence? And what's wrong with you if you don't demand the evidence? Lots of bad people in that world. Lots of psychopaths in that world. At Analytical Media, we oftentimes say amongst ourselves that mental illness is not dangerous. However, delusions are dangerous. So we say delusions are dangerous. And what that means is that delusional people, they're dangerous. It doesn't mean they're all going to hurt you or they have some delusion that tells them to hurt you, attack you, kill you. Doesn't say that. Maybe some of them have delusions that do encourage them to kill their parents, but they don't. Unfortunately, some of them do, and they do because they're delusional, because they believe that their parents are evil or monsters or aliens. So delusions are dangerous. Dangerous to the person that's having the delusion, and delusions are dangerous when people are involved in the delusions of the delusional person. This is Analytical Media. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it's prompted some thought on your part, something to talk over with your friends perhaps. If this helped you in some way, if you enjoyed it, like it, subscribe, recommend it, whatever, share it, because that will help the algorithm share this. Send it out to more people. Make it available to more people. Having said that, we hope everything's gone well for you and your family. We hope everything will continue to go that way. We mostly hope that we're reaching some people, teaching them a better way to live, a way that will help them in life, make them happier, make their children happier and healthier, help them achieve more happiness, more understanding, to be more beneficial to your community, your church. Maybe we have, maybe we haven't, but having said that, good luck, Godspeed. See you in the next video.